In this lesson, we'll dive through the Make.com user interface, including modules and scenarios. So one scenario is one automation. As you can see in this interface, it's currently blank. So when you create a new account, you will not see anything here. Click Create a New Scenario at the top right, and now you'll see this user interface. Within this automation, you see this blank canvas, and then you see controls at the bottom and on the left. The left is a menu system, and on the bottom, there are a bunch of different controls. The only ones you need to worry about really are pressing the save button, so press that pretty often while you're creating your scenario, and then the run once button. When you're working through the scenario, you can click this run once button to test it out and process some data. We'll talk about scheduling and other tools later on. This main canvas is where all the magic happens within Make. So press the plus icon and then you'll see a bunch of different apps. So I'm going to select Slack in this case. So what do we have here? We have the Slack module, or the Slack app rather, and a bunch of different modules within that. This particular Slack app can do lots of different things. For example, we can watch public channel and private channel messages. You can watch for files and many different things. In this case, we're going to keep it simple and we're going to watch private channel messages. So I have this test channel created in my Slack account. What we're going to do is we're going to listen out for messages so that when I add in a test message here to anything and click send, when I run this, it will then get the data. So what we want this to do, when we send in a test message here, any message at all, and then when we select run once, this module within Make should get those recent private messages within that channel. And then in the next lesson, we're going to connect that to a different app. So we're going to connect it to Google Sheets and then send that data to Google Sheets as a new row. Then once you understand the overall concept of that, we can then start to make things a lot more complicated and do a lot more interesting things, including getting AI involved. So how do we set up a connection? If this is a new account, select Add at the top right, and then select Save. And then a pop-up will appear, and then you just follow some steps to authenticate your app. Every time you use a module, you're going to need to create one of these connections because you need to give Make.com permission to use the app. The process varies a little bit between scenario. We'll go through some other examples later on in the course. If you do not have a Slack account, that's fine. Just follow through the process so you understand the concept of getting data from an app. I have my Slack collection set up here. I'm going to select my private channel. So I've selected this channel, and then I'm going to limit it to 1. We can then get lots of different messages at once, but in this case, we're just going to get one message at a time. And I'm going to press OK and press OK there, and then I'll save the scenario. Now when I press run once, nothing happens. Well, actually, something does happen, which is that it does use an operation and we get this speech bubble at the top. When you select that speech bubble, you'll then be able to see the results of that. So there was one operation and data size of 0. Nothing happened because there were no messages. So I'll go to Slack. I'll just write test message and press enter and select run once. Now I've run once and now we see the data from that particular message. So we see test. Our text is test message. We see the date and timestamp and a bunch of other things. All we really care about now is this. But what we see is that we're getting lots of different structured data items from that message, including the date and the user ID of that person. All we care about now is this particular text. In the next section, we're going to connect this to Google Sheets. But I want to explain one thing, and that is an operation. So as we see here, we have this 1 number within the speech bubble, which signifies that we're using one operation. When we go to the pricing page of Make.com, we see the number of operations. So we see this on this free plan, there are 1,000 operations a month. On the core plan, by default, there are 10,000 operations per month. We'll talk about scheduling and operations in a bit more detail later on, but just to let you know, every time a scenario hits one of these modules, it's going to use one operation.